Dragi gledatelji, dobrodošli u još jedno izdanje Connecta, podcasta koji povezuje Hrvate u Hrvatskoj i Hrvate u dijaspori. Danas mi je posebno veselje pozdraviti našeg gosta, gospodina Mariona Duzića. Razgovor ćemo voditi na engleskom, vi ćete naravno kao i uvijek imati titlove na hrvatskom. Hi Marion.
Hello.
Nice to see you here in Zagreb studio.
Thank you for the invitation.
How was your No, you're very welcome. How was your trip from Supetar?
It's good. It was okay. We have a big car, so
Yeah, so
it's
then
fine.
it's much easier.
It's a lot easier.
Okay. So let me start with your story.
Okay.
You were born on Veli Rat, in Veli Rat on Dugi Otok, and grew up in the family which has one of the most remarkable immigrant stories. Your grandfather moved to USA in 1920s. Can you share a little bit about this story? How was it like for him and how was it for you?
Well, my grandfather was a 17-year-old sailor, I guess you would call him, merchant marine. And at age 17, him and three other guys, when they came to Corpus Christi, Texas, told the captain on a Yugoslavian tanker, I guess, cargo ship, that they would like to stay in Texas. And the captain says, you know, that's not possible. So anyway, long story short, they agreed that once they clear customs and get ready to leave Corpus Christi, Texas, that, now this is a true story, that they would jump off the ship.
Okay.
So they jumped off the ship, and as they were coming under the bridge, and the captain agreed that he would report anybody missing.
Okay. Okay. So he helped eventually.
Oh yeah, you couldn't. Yeah, because if he would have panicked, you know,
Yeah,
then so he was. So he sailed with four less young Dalmatians, you know, back. So that was the beginning, and my grandfather, you know, they stopped in Corpus Christi. They stayed there. They couldn't make a living, so then they traveled all the way up to Michigan, where he was a factory sweeper in Dodge Brothers. And Dodge Brothers at that time was a big major car manufacturer, which later became the Chrysler and now Fiat. So and then they were gardening on the weekend, and they were making rakia and selling rakia, and so these four guys were a team. You know, they were the Dugi Otok Zadar Mafia, I guess, in a way. But eventually they ended up back in Corpus Christi, and then they saved enough money in 5 or 6 years between their, you know, gardening and working and rakia, and they bought an old boat, and they became fishermen. They knew what to do. And that continued for a long, long time, and after about 10 years, 12 years, my grandfather became my grandfather became an American citizen during this period of time. So once he got his citizenship, he decided to go back to Dugi Otok and get married to his girlfriend. And she waited for him.
Nice.
Good thing she did.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of stories like that nowadays.
No. She waited for him, and he went and he got married, and then, you know, I think he must have been there for about 6 months. My grandmother got pregnant with my father, and then something must have happened. You know, those were tragic times, so, you know, there was lots of stuff going on in the 30s. So this was the 30s.
Yeah.
And they decided that he's going to go back to America, which he did, and he's going to bring them
the family
as soon as he can.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as you can ended up being, I think, 26 years.
Oh my goodness.
So for 26 years, he never saw his wife. He never saw my father,
His son.
who's the only son. And when he did see my father, so my grandmother goes over in 1955. My father goes in 1957. And so when my father first meets his father, my father is married to my mother and has four sons.
Four sons.
Yeah, yeah. So when my father goes to America, I'm 7 years old, and I have 3 younger brothers. I have my mother and great grandmother, and I was the oldest member of the family.
Wow.
So that's the way the story goes, and eventually, I remember lots of things during that period of time, but it was not easy, and in Dugi Otok.
Sure.
I can remember one story when the ship would come to deliver meat and groceries.
Groceries, yeah.
And my mother would give me 50 cents, I guess, and would tell me to sit on the pier, and when everybody leaves the ship, before it leaves, go and see what you can get for 50 cents. Well, the only thing I bought for 50 cents was bones and fat and skin. Mm-hmm. That was it. And I would I would walk out at every 2 bags of bones and fat and skin from a cattle, and we lived pretty healthy life, But we didn't have anybody to go fishing for us, We didn't have anybody. I mean, we had a goose and a pig. My job was to feed the goose, and things like that. But that's kind of how we got there.
Yeah, I think it's a very for the way that younger people watching podcasts and stuff, they cannot even imagine how that life would look like. For example, for younger women to send their husband to United States without seeing him for 26 years, as you said.
No, and they would, the young women today would say, well, now we have other alternatives. I don't think my grandmother had much alternative.
Well, you don't know that.
But you don't know that, yeah.
You don't know that.
I remember coming to America in '59, 9 years old. I came to America in August 15th or 20th. Mm-hmm. I know that 10 days later, I was sent to school. I couldn't speak a word of English. I mean, I didn't know the difference between cat, dog, or house. I had nothing.
Previous knowledge of language.
No,
nothing.
And I stayed in and this was my turning point in life, is that, so I had 3 years of school in Velirat, and so they put me in the 4th grade, and I was a tall kid. So back then in America, you had what they call physical promotion. Mm-hmm. So if you were a certain age, you were promoted
to the upper grade.
Didn't mean that you knew anything. I didn't know anything. So they put me in the 4th grade, and that did not last long. I was a communist kid.
Yeah.
My grandmother would put olive oil in my hair. That's why I have hair. And it was Texas. It was hot.
Yeah.
And I got kicked out of school because I was a bad guy. And if it wasn't for another woman who was a teacher, I would have ended up,
Cool.
at age 9, fisherman.
Fisherman.
That's what I would have been, because there was no system in America for kids like me. So this woman, this teacher, took me and put my desk next to hers. And when the rest of the class was busy, we would go into the cat and the dog books.
Okay.
And every day after school, except catechism, she would ship me away. And Saturday I would go to her home, and by the time that year was over with, I was in I was in good shape. I was ready to compete with the rest of the world, you know.
Nice.
But it was because of her, the opportunity. That was the beginning of my life. Is that somebody
gave you the chance?
Somebody has to give you a chance in life.
Yeah.
That's we call it luck. But if you don't do anything with it, if you don't see it, if you don't recognize it, if you're not grateful, then it's just another moment.
Yeah, but for your younger siblings, it was a little bit easier because you were the first one to go through the education and the difficult stuff, I would say.
Yeah.
But what happened to your Croatian in the meantime?
It disappeared.
You lost it.
Maybe
you need a Croatian teacher now in Croatia, somebody to...
Listen,
I'm kidding, you understand?
No. I remember, and this is jumping a little bit, but
okay, please.
I remember when I came to Croatia 26 years ago in May, I went to see the Minister of Tourism, Father
Župan Rusković.
Yes. And I knew that she spoke English because I set up the meeting with her at some event. And so I go to her office, and I had a meeting with her like early in the morning. It was the first meeting of the day. And we were talking about timeshare. And so she asked me to sit down and asked me if I wanted a cup of coffee, and I said, you know, everybody that came from America to Croatia, then the only thing they knew was cappuccino, you know.
Yeah.
You know, everybody ordered cappuccino because we didn't have cappuccino in America. You know, we had black coffee and give me some cream.
Yeah.
So I ordered cappuccino, so the lady came and sat down like this, and we're talking, and I start talking in English. And she says, you have to respect, in Croatian she says, we have to respect the office of the ministry.
Wow.
In Croatian. And I said to her, Gospođa ministrica, oprosti mi, ali moj hrvatski jezik je jezik od govneno dite. Because I didn't know how to say a child in diapers.
Yeah.
So I said, govneno dite. Okay, this may not be good for a podcast, but you told me it was casual. So govneno dite. So many, many years later, I would run into her. She would always ask me how her govneno dite is.
Nice.
But she was a wonderful lady.
Yeah,
wonderful.
I must say that this is a really, really very nice story that a minister would respect office.
No. She, I mean, immediately before I got my cappuccino.
That's really nice.
No, she was interesting.
Really nice. So, in spite of your teacher trying to help you to you know, find your English and do something with yourself as a child, you were helping in your family business. At that time, you already had a small family business in Texas.
We had my grandfather. Remember now, at this time, my father spoke no English. My father was in America 2 years before I arrived. That's it, 2 years. So he was, but he progressed real quick, and what my grandfather had done, he had built a really, at that time, a very, very successful shrimping industry. He owned boats. He had 4 boats at the time, and I mean, in standards, he was a well-off Croat, you know,
and the entrepreneur also.
Yeah, he was a very good entrepreneur. And he did everything. I mean, he could, you know, if he had to fix something electrical, he found a way to fix it.
Yeah.
You know, if he had to fix some plumbing or pipes, or the only thing he didn't touch was overhauling the engine. If the engine blew up, he called somebody.
Then he would call somebody.
Yeah. But so I remember I came in August, I went to school. So the following summer, you know, the minute school was out in May, I was on the boat with him, as a matter of fact, with my grandfather. And the boat was called Marion D. So I remember that real well, you know. And that's where I picked up a lot of the discipline A lot of the, do it right, don't do it at all if you're not. The little things, and every business has a language. You have to learn the language. You have to learn, you're around people. I'm just a 10-year-old kid, and I'm around people that are, 40, 50, 60 years old, cigarettes and like to drink too much wine. But he had a complete discipline. The boat was immaculate. It was just, it was a clean, and he was a great cook. So we never went hungry. So I got my love for cooking
over
from
there, from your grandfather.
Yeah. Or he was unbelievable cook.
Great. Well, this is one of the things actually that is behind this podcast. My first idea when we started this cooperation with Večernji list and Croatian Online was to show to Croatians here living in Croatia that our diaspora has not only money to bring back, but that they are bringing a different culture, the different attitude toward work and responsibilities and everything. And listening to your story, this is something that was my first impression when I started to meet people from Croatian diaspora. They learned in this capitalist different world, they learned early about responsibilities, about approaching, how to approach the job. So this is, I think, the story that really puts this into a very good perspectives.
Yeah, Ankica, looking back, when I decided to invest in Croatia.
Yeah, that is the topic which I would really like to address. How did that happen to you?
Listen, it happened because my wife and I are crazy, and
your wife is American. She has nothing with Croatia.
Yeah. But the way it happened is, I guess in 1988, after my grandmother passed away, my grandfather and I took a 6-week trip through
Croatia.
Yugoslavia at that time. And then we ended up at the Vatican, and we ended up at, and he would, his favorite words was, so he was about 80 years old at the time. God, I wish I was 20 years younger, and he would, And so, anyway, and I was 38, so 12 years later, I had an opportunity to sell a couple of our unbelievable restaurants. They're still unbelievable today, for millions and millions of dollars, and I could invest it in the States, or it just worked out. It worked out. So
you, after your fishing business, your family also started the restaurant business in Texas.
No, I did that.
You did that.
I did that as a hobby. I took it.
You took it from your grandfather.
Yeah, I took what they would call a fish house.
Yeah. Okay.
And converted it into a restaurant. That's how it started. Yeah. But that was, and it was very successful. And I sold it to. I sold this one property to a friend of mine who now is the ambassador in Italy.
Wow.
The Croatian American from Galveston, same place, Galveston, Texas. And I sold him the restaurant, and he paid me good money for it. But what's amazing, 26 years later, the restaurant is still there. Pretty much, he's a great operator. He owns lots of restaurants. The menu is there, the place is there, and it's doing extremely well. And I cannot afford to buy it back. That's how good it's doing.
That's very good.
But that's wonderful.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful that
true success
that
story.
30 years later, let's say, it's still there. It still attracts people. The menu still is needed, And, and so in 2000, we came to the point where our kids were stabilized, and they were, either in college or getting ready to go, and so I invested in Supetra Hoteli. And it was quick. 45 days after I saw it, 45 days after I saw it, I bought the shares from the government. That was it. Probably the fastest privatization that ever happened in Croatia.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that. How come that you chose Supetar since you are from Dugi Otok? Usually people go back to the places of their origin. Was it a good opportunity? Was it just a coincidence that was on the market? Did you like the place?
Yeah.
Did you like... What led to this decision, actually?
I had the honors of meeting a guy who I really liked. He came to Houston, Texas. His name was Jure Radic.
Jure Radic. Yeah, he passed away.
Yeah, passed away young.
Yeah, very young. Yeah. I know.
And Jure Radic, I liked him, and we met, and you know, and he told me when you should invest in Croatia. And I said, I need somebody to help me.
Sure.
So he says, well, I have a brother-in-law. His name was Ivan Skanderovic. And Ivan was a Compass guy.
Compass.
In Makarska. Mm-hmm. And I love Ivan, and still today. And every chance I got, I would jump on a plane. I would come to Croatia, and we would look at olive oil production and wine production and fish. Because I was in the seafood business in Texas, mostly seafood business. And I wanted to do something with Croatian products, but it never worked out. I couldn't see the
potential of it.
No, it was just too confusing at the time, you know? But then I love real estate, always loved real estate, still love real estate. And and it was just freak. I mean, I remember it was in the evening, we were having dinner in Baška Voda, and he says to me, he says, would you like to go look at a hotel company that needs your... And he got to know me. He got to understand the way I think and what my capacity was. And so I said, let's go. So the next day we went to Supetar. Mm-hmm. And he showed me Supetar Hoteli.
Okay.
And that's how it started. And then there was this wonderful lady. Her name was Katja Aric. They showed us the property, Teta Katja. Uh-huh. And you know, I called my wife and I told her don't spend the money on anything else. And that was it. Basically it.
Okay, so technically what you are saying, if first you needed a personal contact, somebody to yeah, okay, so this is emotional, not really business. You didn't like have a company, invest in Croatia.com or whatever.
No.
Second, you said that you met this Katja lady, Teta Katja.
She was there.
She was there. So I can assume that your decision was mostly done emotionally, not completely. Yeah. Okay, of course you saw in the future business potential of it. You didn't buy just a private house for yourself. But can we say that these emotions are what brought you back more than a strict business plan of a business professional? Yeah,
you know, I would have, it was all relationships to me.
Sure.
Everything I do is relationships, you know that.
Yeah, I do. I want you just to tell it to our viewers.
I don't need to do anything. I just want to do it because
you like it.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not a guy that throws money around just to say I did it. I'm not an IT investor. I'm not, but I love real estate. I love people. I'll invest in people. And this property in Supetar till today has wonderful, wonderful people. Mm-hmm. You know? And okay, but wonderful people that had habits.
Sure.
Now I would call them bad habits or good habits, but we all have habits.
Yeah.
So you have to convert. You have to convert these habits. You have to learn from others, and others need to learn from you. Yeah. And what do they say? I am I, and you are you.
Yeah.
And if we find each other, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
But if we don't, it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
You know. And so I kind of, you know, between the emotion, I had the financial ability, I had the support from my family and my wife, and I did it.
Good.
And I don't regret it.
That was my next question.
It wasn't easy now. Nobody, but what's easy in life? Sure. You know, raising children is the toughest part. The toughest part,
but
and
we
you never know how they're going to turn out. We don't even think about it.
It's at least 25 years project if you are successful, I say.
Till the grandkids come.
Yeah, if you, then the grandkids come, sure. But the most important thing you've said so far, in my opinion, concerning our viewers and the others, Croats coming from diaspora, it's not easy, but it's worth it, okay?
Yeah. No,
I think that's the message which we can a little bit sit on, okay? What was, I know that you faced a lot of challenges during your investment process in Supetar, and you still do, actually, so it's still not easy.
Yeah.
Now, particularly with the working force and everything that is the whole hotel industry is facing. But if you would look back a little bit, would you say that Croatian state, meaning national and local state, was supportive of investors or not?
You know, people have asked me that question before.
Okay. They did.
I had a wonderful relationship and help with the guys in Zagreb, whoever they were, whatever party they were.
Yeah, Pave Župan was not HDZ.
Yeah. And it didn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, sure.
I was looking at people.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't even know if Jure Radić was at that time HDZ, and it didn't matter to me what HDZ was. I was looking at the human being.
Absolutely.
And I think Croatia has to be more than complimented what it's achieved in its short history. And we forget that. This is a young country.
Sure.
You know, America is fighting worse battles today than it did
when it was first founded.
Yeah, without talking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where you would not start or finish. But this is a young country. It's a beautiful country. There's some wonderful people. There are people that are set in their ways. Who the hell isn't set in their ways?
Absolutely.
Yes, for example, our company has 300 local Croatian employees, but the other 300 are foreign.
Yeah.
And the permitting process is not easy. The visa process is not easy. I understand it. I understand why it's not easy. But at the same time, I got a business to run.
Yeah.
You know,
sure.
And I can't fill my hotel for Easter if I don't have the staff.
Yeah.
And I need to fill my hotel for Easter so I can have a season. You know.
Exactly.
So it's a vicious. You know. So that is a problem. And then the other thing I think, if I was going to complain about anything, is I think that this country gives way too much power to the local authorities. Way too much power, and the local authorities can pretty much do what they choose with no repercussion.
Oh, okay.
None. And I don't know if anybody will ever fix that problem, but I hope so.
Yeah, you think that is a burden for the investors coming on the local
because I know lots of people that want to do this, and they don't have to be Americans. They can be.
Yeah.
I know a lady from the Netherlands that wanted to do a project, and the bureaucracy just. It wasn't somebody's good idea, and I tell you why it wasn't somebody's good idea, because she didn't buy their property too. You know, why didn't you buy my property? Why did you just buy Alkitz's property? No, I'm not going to. No. The lady just, you know, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Puts it on.
Okay. Many times you were mentioning the huge potential of Croatian diaspora. that is another reason for this podcast, because I think that we have a lot of state-owned institutions that are in charge of this. Recently, 2 days ago, in Večernji list was published also that 18,000 Croatians are returning to Croatia, but another 35 are leaving.
Yeah.
So we still have bad figures in that sense.
Bad balance.
Exactly. So, since you were mentioning diaspora very often in all your public appearances and whenever you were talking at the business forums, meeting peoples, do you think there is any constructive way? Is it good what Croatian authorities are doing? I'm not saying only government. There are other bodies. Because somehow, at least this is how I see it, we don't do enough in that sense.
Yeah.
We are not promoting, just as you mentioned a little bit earlier, we are still a young country, there is still a lot to learn, but there is a huge improvement, and nobody is talking actually about it. Potential diaspora people wanting to come back to Croatia.
Yeah, and I don't know, I just know that I had my share of issues, and we dealt with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, okay? And but it's difficult to get to the end of anything.
Yeah.
It really is, and that's the problem, But if with different organizations, maybe they can help. But it's not. It's not a package that, there's nobody's going to give you a package. And it's difficult to put a package together because everybody's needs are different,
But what do you think what is missing? Clear initiative, legal security, transparency.
Yeah, transparency is a big deal. Our court systems are still not where they need to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it blows my mind that it takes 10 years to get a decision. It blows my mind that
10 years is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good in Croatia. It goes up to 20.
I'm not. I'm dealing with a situation now where I bought something. The company bought it, paid 330,000 for it, euros, piece of land. I, on purpose, I always tell people when I buy something, it has to be bankable.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
So I got a bank involved. Bank financed it, put a lien on it. And now 7 years later, somebody's claiming ownership to it. 7 years later.
Jesus.
After I bought it, paid for it.
The bank said
it's okay, put a lien on it. And I'm spending my money.
7 years, yeah.
I'm spending my money. So there's no, and you can build a house like that. You can buy land like that. And I mean, on this piece of property, I have a amphitheater, I have toilets, I have a bar, I have an infinity swimming pool, I have beach chairs, I have access to the ocean.
But still you have to go in court to prove that it is your own.
Yeah.
So I think
and the state approved the sale. I mean, it's just, how do you, there needs to be a quick, this is a nuisance case, get it out of here.
Yeah.
No, but we don't do that. We just prolong and prolong. And I think that is a huge problem. I have lots of American friends that have plenty money. And I think that is the #1 problem that they
don't want to come here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ownership rights,
Okay, so what if you would have the opportunity, and you usually do at different forums and business meetings, if you would talk to young Croats, born and raised in United States, people that are maybe second or third generation, what would you tell them? Why is it worth coming back to your to your roots, to your ancestor land? Or is there, or that is maybe not such a good advice?
Well, I have to tell you this. My son was here with me for 10, 12 years. Then his wife decided we're going to educate our kids in Germany, so they went to Germany, got a divorce. He's in America, she's in Germany, the kids are grown up. Mm-hmm. That's the situation. Mm-hmm. Then I have another daughter, her husband's a retired Marine pilot, and they're educating the kids in Italy. Oh. So they bought a home in Italy, but they love Brač. They're going to be here Friday. So, you know, education.
Education is also an issue.
For young Americans, you know, young Americans want to raise their children. Education becomes a problem for some reason. Okay? I mean, I didn't go to private schools in America. Yeah. I am where I am just going through the public system. But I have to tell you, all three of my kids went to Catholic private schools because I could afford it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think education is a big deal. The ownership is a huge deal. The ownership is a huge, huge deal. If you buy something, do you really own it?
Oh, okay.
You know, is somebody going to come back and haunt you? Then you want to refurbish the place, then you can't get a permit.
You can get a permit.
You can't get a permit.
Yeah.
So that's another thing, right?
Yeah, there is a nice story about your hotel in Supetar, which you named Awesome.
Yeah.
Because it took you 8 years to get all the papers for actually old house, which you didn't.
Old building.
Old building, so nothing new was built.
Yeah, yeah.
Eight years.
8 years. We called it the logo. As a matter of fact, my oldest daughter put the logo of the octopus.
Yeah, because it has eight legs.
Eight legs.
Yeah.
And it took 8 years. And it was a building that we were just refurbishing.
Yeah, I know.
And the community in the summer used the front of it for toilet. It was their toilet.
It was the toilet, public.
Yeah.
Terrible.
You know, so.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we got a long way to go. We've come a long way as a country.
Yeah.
It's a healthy environment. I think the school systems are good. Can they be better? Every school system can be better.
Can be better.
We do have opportunities of good medical. I'm a really good example of a guy that had 3 back surgeries in Croatia, and I'm still walking. Mm-hmm. I'm a real good example of a kid that was 5 years old. 5 years old, they had polio in Zadar and still walking. I'm a really good example of somebody that was on dialysis for 3 years in Supetar, on dialysis for 3 years. The best dialysis anywhere in the world. And when I would travel, I would go to private dialysis in Zagreb. Fantastic. I'm an example of a guy that had a kidney transplant 3 years ago.
In Zagreb?
No, in the States.
In the States.
Yeah, because my wife gave a kidney to the man, and the man's wife gave me a kidney.
Oh, nice.
You can't do that here.
Okay.
You can't do that.
No, you have to go on the donors list and wait for your turn. Wow.
And so, you know,
quite a story.
But the dialysis here was better than the States. Swear to God.
Good.
The doctor that looks after me right now is in Split is as good as gold.
Good. That's very nice to hear.
No, but yeah. Listen, it's a true story. It's true.
Yeah, yeah, amazing
it's true.
Story.
Yeah.
Well, your story is really one of a kind. I would say.
I guarantee you that.
Yeah. Okay, let me just now move, since we are going out of our time, just to something completely different.
All right.
Okay. One of the reasons that we are launching this podcast right now is the fact that the Croatian national football team is playing World Championship in United States. Okay, since our first match is in Texas, and you know the community very well. What do you think? How it will be for Croatians in Texas? Are people, because football is not the number one sport in United States. They call it soccer. They don't even call it football.
No, but we stole the other football, you know.
Yeah, because there is a football. Yeah, there is a football.
But, you know, we are involved in hotel business in America. And so like in Houston, the hotels are going to be full.
Yeah.
The expectations for most of the people in the States were greater than what they're getting. They expected to really jack up the prices, and and what's happening, the people that are filling the hotels are pretty much people in the country.
Ah, okay.
It's more difficult, looks like. Flights are being canceled. They put in a lot of flights. They cancel a lot of flights. I don't know if it's because of the visa requirements or just the long lines. And then this, TSA, has been shut 44 days now. Looks like President Trump did do something. So there's a lot of issues. I had a 3-hour wait the other day. And I'm not flying coach, and I had a 3-hour wait to get through security.
Wow.
So outside. The line in Houston was out to the parking lot. Wow. It was unbelievable. You can't imagine. I did not buy tickets to go to Dallas to watch England and Croatia. I didn't buy those tickets. I was going to go to Houston and play, because we live 40 minutes from the stadium and we have hotels right there and all this. But anyway, long story short, so what I did, just prepare for my seeing you, I went to the internet and I said, I'm going to buy a ticket to go see Croatia play. So if I just buy a ticket that I don't even want, it's going to cost me $2,300. Okay, $2,300. But there was still a few left up top. And those were only $3,500. So now you figure that out. And I'm not going to go alone.
Yeah, you have to take somebody with you.
No, so my wife and I decided that we're just going to give the kid the money to the grandkids. We got a big screen TV, and we're going to be in Croatia on Brač.
Nice.
And we're going to watch the game. But I think all of this stuff has become so unaffordable. That's a good word.
Unaffordable?
Unaffordable. For most people.
Well, because there is a big fuss here in Croatia, okay? Since it is very easy to get, it's very difficult to get the tickets. You have to apply for a kind of lottery organized by FIFA. And I spoke to many people, because my grandkids also want to go to see one of the games over there. You cannot actually get these tickets easily. No. I spoke to many people, nobody got them. Then typically in Croatia, you are looking for who knows who and who can organize tickets.
Please don't misunderstand me. It's becoming a rich man's sport.
Oh, really?
I think so. In the States, most of this stuff is. I can remember when my friend years ago, Rudy Tomjanovic, was playing Orlando. And Rudy and I, and his wife and my wife, and Rudy was coaching him, his wife and my wife, and I went to the playoffs in Orlando. And, he got us tickets. And we entered through the garage, and up on top was a limousine, 2 limousines, and the guy was going like this, and I'm going like this.
That's like how much you have to give?
$10,000 for 2 tickets.
Wow.
So I looked at Sophie, his wife, and I said, Sophie, if I can get $10,000, you do, I'm going to kill you. But that was the playoffs.
I understand. Good.
Somebody was in the back of the limousine.
Waiting.
He's telling this guy, go.
Cheers.
It's crazy. Okay. But this is becoming a...
Okay. Marion, thank you once again for your time.
Thank you.
That you spent here with us. I'm sure that many Croats from Croatia will fly to Texas. Because from what I hear, now the interest is huge. I agree with you. It is getting more and more expensive. The overall world situation is not in favor of flights. The flights prices of the airplane tickets are skyrocketing every day, so it is not really affordable, but I'm sure that Croatian national team in Texas will have enough of Croatian diaspora to support.
I think Arlington I don't know if it holds 70,000 or 90,000 people.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm sure we can handle a couple of million from Croatia.
Yeah.
But it's a huge stadium. It's a beautiful stadium. Yeah.
And it is an opening match for Croatia, and we are playing against England. So
Yeah, I mean,
it is from the
no, it's a
football
once in a
point of view,
lifetime, yeah.
absolutely once in a
But
lifetime.
I'm going to be on Brač. I hate to tell you
Okay, Brač is nice. I'll watch it also from Zagreb.
that. I
And,
got to. There's so many of us. That,
yeah. Thank you, Marion.
thank you. Thank you.
I
It
hope
was my
we'll
pleasure.
have a chance to talk
Thank
again.
you. Thank you.
Dragi gledatelji, hvala i vama. Nadam se da ćemo još imati prilike razgovarati s gospodinom Duzićem i njegovim prijateljima, predstavnici, odnosno Hrvati iz dijaspore koji su se vratili živjeti u Hrvatsku, sigurno nam imaju puno toga za ispričati. Hvala i ugodan dan.